Brad Underwood had a lot of praise this week for two players in particular. Who are they? The Freshmen.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. My name is Sunny Verma, your host here at Locked On Illini, where I continue to provide you coverage daily. That's right, every single day. Everything is absolutely free. The only thing I ask for in return is if you can hit that like button, just so that I know you're watching. Look, it's the offseason, at least for another week or so. Next week, we're going to have the Big Ten Media Days for football. I'll be in Las Vegas, by the way, so if there's any questions that you want me to ask any of the player representatives or even the coach himself, Coach Brad Underwood, let me know in the comment section. And if I have time, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But hit that like button. Let's get through this offseason, and the regular season is going to be right around the corner. Today, I wanted to talk about something that kind of caught me off guard. This might just be Brad Underwood being Brad Underwood, but I noticed that Brad talked about two players that coming into the season, I didn't exactly think were going to be too high on the preseason depth chart, but now it sounds like they might be. And of course, I'm talking about the two freshmen coming in, Brandon Lee and Keaton Wagler. Two freshmen, two very different paths, but right now it looks like they're earning serious praise from Brad and the coaching staff during these early summer workouts. So what am I talking about? At the Kendall Gill golf outing, when asked about the early impressions of his two freshman guards, Underwood didn't really hold back. On Keaton, he said, "I've been very pleased with Keaton. He has great size at 6'5", 6'6". We've done a lot of the same things we did with Will Riley with him, playing him on the ball almost exclusively. At this point, we know he can really shoot, but his passing has been tremendous." And on Brandon Lee, the message was just as clear. Brendan has a scorer's mentality. He's a downhill guy. He uses his body on his drives. Translation, maybe these guys aren't just filling up roster spots. Maybe they're actually being developed or showing enough to become rotational pieces on this year's basketball team. And I'll tell you, if that's the case, what a bonus it would be for next season. Let's talk about the players real quick. Let's start with Brandon Lee. Again, 6'5", 6'6" guard out of the Patrick School in New Jersey, the same program that gave us Kyrie Irving and Shaheen Holloway. Lee wrapped up his high school career with 22 points per game, over 2,000 career points, and he was the state leader in 3 points made at 106 and free throws made at 161. And this wasn't done in a cupcake league. He played a national schedule on the grind session, scoring 34 points versus AJ DeBance's Utah Prep, and another 34 versus Dylan Harper's Don Bosco Prep. When he's on, Lee's electric. He's a 3-level scorer with NBA range on his jumper, a physical downhill game, and elite free throw efficiency, 81% in the EYBL. He's confident, vocal, and not afraid of the moment. His development focus, it's got to be his ability to adjust from being the guy to a guy who, again, a lot of people peg to be sitting at the end of the bench, but now maybe just being ready to take on a supporting cast role. That means he's got to be better about his shot selection, playing more off the catch, and let's be honest, defending with consistency. Illinois staff is already pushing him to cut down on his jump shot dependency and use his frame to pressure the rim. Defensively, they want that East Coast toughness to translate into stops, not just swagger. But here's the thing. Lee might actually be more physically ready than Wagler. His frame is built for Big Ten play. He's already gone toe-to-toe with elite competition on the EYBL circuit and internationally with Team Puerto Rico in the FIBA Under-18 American Cup. AmeriCup, actually. That's what it is. Next up, we're going to talk about Keaton Wagler, shooting guard out of Shawnee, Kansas, and the 2025 Kansas Gatorade Player of the Year. Wagler led Shawnee Mission Northwest to back-to-back state titles, finishing his career with a 47-3 record over the final 2 seasons. Senior stat line, 18.5 points, 6.7 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 59% field goal percentage, 45% from 3, 83% from the line. Now, I will say, during my scouting of Keaton, on YouTube, there's some videos calling him arguably the best shooter in the country. And that's just really high praise and something we know that could fit really well in this Brad Underwood offense. Speaking of Keaton, in the state title game, he put up a clutch 17-point, 10 rebound double-double. And beyond the numbers, Wagler's feel for the game pops. He's been described as a connective piece, a high basketball IQ, smooth, repeatable shooting form, and he's comfortable on or off the ball. In fact, the Illini staff has been testing him as a primary ball handler, much like they did early with Will Riley, and the results seem to be turning heads. His passing has been a standout in workouts. Now, what does he have to work on? Well, he definitely needs to get stronger. He's currently 180 pounds, and he needs to adjust to the speed and the physicality of Big Ten basketball. Unlikely, he didn't play on a major circuit in AAU. So the pace of high major college hoops may take some time to adjust to. Still, word from inside the program is that Wagler has been one of the biggest surprises of the summer workouts. That is, natural feel, shooting touch, and unselfish play are making him almost impossible to ignore. So where do these two fit into this upcoming year's roster? Illinois' backcourt rotation now includes Kylan Boswell, who I'm expecting to play over 30 minutes a game, Andrei Stojakovic, Jake Davis, and then after that, there's kind of a major gap. We don't know what's happening with Mihailo Petrovic right now. I'm still very optimistic. I know a lot of you have been asking me about him not being on campus yet. Yeah, he's dealing with visa issues, but guys, just remember that last year, Tomislav Ivicic was not cleared to play until late October. In fact, I think it was Halloween of last year when we found out Tomislav was going to be able to play. Unfortunately, the NCAA and visas and all that kind of stuff, it's out of Brad Underwood's control. He talked about this in that Kendall Gill Golf Invitational interview. It's just a simple matter of, well, we think when, not if Mihail is going to be able to play. But outside those players, with the Ty Rodgers injury and him being potentially out for the season, this injury could open the door, and it could be one of the freshmen that steps right through. Brandon Lee could give Illinois a spark plug scorer off the bench, someone who can heat up quickly, help the offense in those lulls that we tend to get into the last couple of years. And when he's aggressive, he can get to the line and possibly change the game in that aspect. And Keaton brings something else entirely: steadiness, IQ, spacing, and flexibility. He could play spot minutes as an off-ball shooter or help initiate the offense on the second and maybe even third units. As is, I am somewhat concerned with the lack of deep guard depth that this next year's roster is going to have. If either of those guys can prove that they're not going to be a defensive liability, I think there's a chance that both can see minutes early in the year, especially in the non-conference. But the bottom line is, both Brandon Lee and Keaton Wagler chose Illinois over other offers where they could have had a guaranteed immediate role. They came here because they believe in the development pipeline that Brad Underwood and the coaching staff continues to produce. And Illinois needs that next wave of talent with the NBA departures that we've had, the portal moves and unfortunate injuries. There's a clear need to have that homegrown development in the program as well. Lee brings the fire. Wagler brings the polish. And if both of them can continue this trajectory through fall workouts and maybe closed-door scrimmages, don't be shocked if one, if not both, become rotational pieces by the end of January. They might be flying under the radar now, but the buzz inside the program is extremely loud. I know it's a little early for me to focus on the two freshmen for this player series that I'm trying to do every single week. But again, Brad Underwood's comments just kind of caught me off guard. Now, granted, Brad is known for a little hyperbole when it comes to his praise of the players when he's watching them during these private workouts. But still, there is some concern that with Ty out and with the unknown status of Mihailo Petrovic and David Mirkovic, that this team that we think is going to be really deep next year could not be deep at all. And if that's the case, then the development of these two guys, Brandon and Keaton, is going to be extremely important if Illinois wants to reach its ambitions of getting to that second weekend or even that third weekend that us Illini fans are hoping for. You let me know your thoughts. Is there something about Keaton's game that you guys really like? What about Brandon's? Is there anything about Brad Underwood's quotes this past week that has you even more excited about these two freshmen? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the greens, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Again, I've already told you guys, I've got my eyes locked on PCA on the Cubs. I have them at plus 8,000 and plus 5,500 to win the National League MVP. Right now, he's the second favorite, I believe, right behind Shohei Ohtani. So that's going to be something I'm going to be following along all summer long. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And welcome back to Locked On Illini, where we don't just tell it like it is, we roast what's ridiculous. And today, Indiana football presents a golden opportunity. Listen, it takes a special dedication to write a $500,000 check just so you don't have to play Virginia in football. Then filling that void with Kennesaw State, Austin Peay, and Eastern Illinois, like they're building a laundry list of guaranteed wins. This isn't a strategy, it's pure scheduling cowardice. And I'm going to break down why this reeks of desperation and how Illinois is forging a path of genuine competitiveness, all while Indiana just continues to double down on playing dodgeball with Power 4 opponents. First off, the facts for some of you that don't know. Indiana was set to play Virginia in a Power 4 home and home in 2027 and 2028. Then suddenly, on Tuesday, it's announced that they cancel that matchup and now owe Virginia $500,000 in buyout fees. Then they fill it with FCS level competition. Kennesaw State, Austin Peay, Eastern Illinois, all laughers in Bloomington. Literally spending $500,000 to avoid playing a college football team that has a pulse. And guess when they're next scheduled to face a Power 4 team? In 2030. Notre Dame. That's 7 years of ghosting major programs. This isn't building a resume. It's constructing a paper-thin illusion. The national reaction has been brutal, and I love it. SB Nation labeled it as absolutely shameful, accusing Indiana of ducking the very concept of competition. Sports Illustrated and On3 highlighted this. Paying big to avoid a middling ACC team is a total credibility collapse. Bro Bible even humorously noted Indiana is paying more than $2.2 million total to avoid real games. And it's not just us sharing this roast. The Big Ten itself is now dropping its power conference scheduling rule. Indiana didn't leverage that. They exploited it. When your schedule shows that your next Power 4 opponent isn't until 2030, you're not chasing wins. You're chasing confirmation bias. Let's rewind to the 2024 season. Indiana went 11-1, sneaking into college football playoff. But check this. The one ranked opponent that they had, Ohio State, they lost to 38-15. And that game could have been a lot worse for Indiana, but Curt Cignetti chose to play a slow it down offense that he didn't play in any of the other teams in order to keep that score close. Their strength of schedule last year ranked 116th in all of FBS, according to FBI. I'm just going to say it. Look, football season's right around the corner. I'm ready. It was a paper tiger season. They steamrolled cupcakes, got blown out when it mattered, and hit the playoff with zero credibility. Their fan base has been all up in my mentions for the past few months to chant how they're a superpower under Curt Cignetti. Huh? They're not superpowered. They were schedule powered. And as for comparing it to Illinois, here's the stark contrast. Illinois under Brett Bielema puts actual teams with a pulse in its non-conference with games like Duke and Missouri in the very near future. The schedules actually have meaningful tests in front of them, and it focuses on long-term building through substance and tangible wins. Indiana, well, they build their resume through algebraic scheduling. They pay to avoid even the possibility of sweating during a game. and they prepare to hide behind their completely neutralized and sanitized resume. This isn't a strategy. It's a coward's tactic pulled straight out of a Villanova men's basketball strategy guide. It's defensive scheduling masquerading as ambition. The Big Ten's credibility gets tainted when Indiana goes this soft. This new coast-to-coast Big Ten demands respect in this national conversation, and Indiana's cowardice isn't helping any of us. All of us making fun of the SEC for the paper tigers that they're always constantly scheduling in their non-conference schedule. Well, now Indiana is just simply replicating what they're doing. With USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington already in the conference, Indiana looks more like an awkward roadblock than a rising power. And make no mistake, in my opinion, Illinois is rising. With disciplined recruiting, real scheduling, and facilities, we're poised to climb the ranks while Indiana employs this ghost strategy. My bold prediction, mark Indiana versus Illinois as one of the Big Ten's next big rivalries, but not for the reasons Indiana wants. Because every time the Hoosiers pay to skip the matchup, Illini fans are going to say, enjoy your home games against Austin Peay while we build something real. To close this out, Indiana spent $500,000 to avoid playing Virginia, then paid another $400,000 and $1.3 million to stack FCS opponents. That's $500,000 not to have to play a real team, and instead to infuse 3 cup games into their schedule. They play no Power 4 non-conference opponents between today and 2030. They had the audacity to call themselves a national contender, while their schedule looked like a middle school team. Big Ten, buckle up, because when Illinois and Indiana are going to meet, it's not going to be kindness on the field. Now, am I being a little over the top? Possibly. Let's be honest, in the landscape of what is college football now, sure, maybe what Indiana is doing is what the smart team should be doing if you're a team like Indiana. If Curt Cignetti doesn't quite have the confidence that he projects to have, look, Bret Bielema talks the talk and he walks the walk. He talks up the Illinois program, and then he continues to schedule tests to show how legitimate this Illinois football program is. Curt Cignetti is not doing any of that. He's basically being loud on the microphone, but when it comes to the actual games themselves, no. He wants those 3 easy wins so that Indiana can finish the season with 8-9 wins, 3 of them being cupcake games, and he can talk about how Indiana football is back. Brett's doing the same thing, only in a more legitimate manner, playing actual teams. Now, I had Jacob Goins on the show last week. We did a crossover episode, and we talked about how important this Illinois versus Indiana game is going to be. It's funny, on the basketball side, all Illini fans, we don't like the Indiana Hoosiers. But when it comes to football, I never heard from any of them. For the years I've been covering the Illini, I never heard any chirping come from the Hoosiers fans until last year. Seemingly all those basketball fans basically jumped over to the football side because, let's be honest, the basketball side isn't all that productive or winning many games recently. And so they kind of jumped on the winner, that is that college football team. But I'm now at the point where I'm starting to question just how authentic of a college football program they're building over there in Indiana. I'm talking about how big of a season and how important of a season this is for Illinois, especially with how veteran heavy we're going to be this year and how next year we're going to have to reload. I would argue it's the same thing for Indiana. Curt Cignetti doesn't have a lot of his players that he brought up with him from James Madison with him next year. They're going to be bringing in a brand new quarterback. Sure, they've got some star players still on the team, but after this news story broke today, I'm starting to have less confidence in how confident Curt Cignetti actually is in his team. I just think he's taking the cheap way out. And maybe this is just old man me talking, but I appreciate competition. I think it's nice to be able to set a barometer of where you actually are as a football program. Look, Texas is playing Ohio State. You either believe in yourself or you don't. Bret Bielema, Josh Whitman, they believe in this Illini team. Curt Cignetti, the Indiana Hoosiers, I don't think they believe in theirs. And welcome back. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button on this particular video. It's my goal to have 4,000 subs on the YouTube side before we have kickoff, and that's August 29th against Western Illinois. So look, you may be watching these videos every single day. If you're one of my everydayers, first and foremost, thank you so much. But you may not even realize that you're not subscribed to the channel. If you can subscribe to the channel, maybe send it to other friends or former roommates or other Illini fans in your life. I would sincerely, absolutely appreciate it. Before I let you go, I did want to mention a couple notes. Terrence Shannon Jr. on Tuesday evening scored 24 points, 5 rebounds, 6 of 9 from the floor, and was 3 of 3 from downtown. Chester Frazier took the thoughts right out of my brain when he tweeted, "It's time to shut him down. With the right opportunity, he's going to help them," meaning the Minnesota Timberwolves, "get over the hump. He's not a 19 or 20-year-old rookie or sophomore." I'm losing more and more respect for this Minnesota franchise as each day goes by. How they used him in such a limited role last year, and now the way they're treating him this year, he's 25 years old, okay? Terrence Shannon Jr. right now should be in the prime of his career, being a very solid, at the very least, rotational player in the NBA. And Minnesota's treating him like a project 19-year-old player. And I can't fathom. Maybe I'm going to have to bring on the Locked On Timberwolves host here to try to spell this out for me, because Terrence continues to dominate Summer League, which I love, don't get me wrong, but give him the opportunity to do it once the regular season starts, because I promise you, nobody's outworking Terrence, all right? Terrence, I can confirm, is still showing up at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning in that Minnesota Timberwolves stadium just to practice shots, just like he was so famously doing here in Champaign. Minnesota, give him an opportunity. Also, a special congratulations to Ike Young, who did say he's going to play for the Illini baseball team next season, but he was drafted by the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in the 20th round on Monday. And he wasn't the only one drafted. Special thanks to the Writing Illini. Signee Jack Wheeler from Morse High School in Illinois was selected in the 6th round by the Texas Rangers. And starting pitcher Tyler Schmidt was drafted in the 17th round by the San Diego Padres. And just one round later, pitcher Julius Sanchez was drafted by also the Texas Rangers. I love it when Illini players not only leave their imprint on the program that they're representing Illinois at, but the development that this university brings to them gets them ready for the next step. So I wanted to wish a special good luck in their futures in the major leagues. And finally, Will Riley had 14 points in his debut, and he looked like he could be a very promising prospect for Washington. That's going to just about wrap it up for today's edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings, and be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. That's going to just about wrap it up for today. Again, if you want to talk Illini all day, every day, there's a link in the description. Join the Discord, Talk Illini Discord. We're talking Illini sports with over 300 of us spread all across the country. I'm really looking forward to speaking to you guys. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.